Chiefs Kingdom, Noah Gray here, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Josh's channel and check out showmefootball.com for more.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of showmefootball.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs. And I think Kansas City Chiefs general manager Brett Veach has one more big move up his sleeve this offseason. We'll talk about what that is right after this. Ladies and gentlemen of the Chiefs Kingdom, welcome back to another video here on my channel, Show Me Football. I'm finally back on my own after a long hiatus. I did do a video last week with Michael Darcy of KC Sports Report, but here I am finally back doing a solo video for you guys. We're finally getting back into the swing of things now that OTAs are going on. Training camp is right around the corner, and then the season will be here before you know it. But I wanted to talk about a piece of news that has been going around, a trade rumor. The rumor mill is running strong right now, again, for Atlanta Falcons tight end Kyle Pitts, a player that I think Chiefs fans have kind of dreamed of the Kansas City Chiefs and Andy Reid maybe getting their hands on in the past, because he's been in trade rumors before, but his name has come up once again. And an article about 2 days ago from Savion Mixon of thefalcoholic.com named the Kansas City Chiefs as a potential landing spot for Kyle Pitts in a trade, stating, since Pitts has struggled in Atlanta, one of the dream scenarios for both sides would be a trade to the Chiefs. As legendary as Travis Kelce is, he can't play forever. Turning 36 at the end of the season, Kelce is nearing the end of the line, and Noah Gray isn't the answer as tight end one to the future. Pitts would give another potentially explosive element to the offense with his yak ability and verticality outside the numbers. Once Kelce retires, then he would be a perfect replacement as a safety valve in the intermediate parts of the field. Now, like I said, this is not the first time that Kyle Pitts' name has come up in trade rumors. In fact, there were trade rumors right before the NFL draft this year. Jordan Schultz, formerly of Bleacher Report, but an NFL insider, stated on social media that Kyle Pitts was being shopped around right before the NFL draft. I believe the Falcons were seeking a day 2 pick. Obviously, no one was willing to give that up. Otherwise, he would have been moved, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's not still available. I just don't think the Atlanta Falcons are necessarily getting a day 2 pick. And there's a few reasons for that. First of all, there's a reason why he's getting traded or why he's being shopped around again. This is like the third time in 3 years that his name has come up in trade rumors. Because since his fantastic rookie season where he had over 1,000 yards, it's just been downhill since then. He hasn't been able to reach those heights since then. Something has gone on in Atlanta. There was a coaching change, and the new coaches maybe thought they could get something out of him. He had somewhat of a bounce back year last year, not this past season, but the year before that. But then it was just kind of more of the same this past season. And so now maybe the Atlanta Falcons are finally done, and they think this is the most they can get out of this player. And they want to get an asset back for him. You know, we see that a lot in the NFL. But this is also the type of trade that Brett Veach specializes in, right? For the Kansas City Chiefs, taking a former high-round pick, maybe potentially getting something out of them. Most of the time, he doesn't give up too much. And I think, you know, if you could pull this off, I would definitely be interested, because the talent is undeniable with Kyle Pitts. When he came out of the NFL draft originally, everyone said this guy has the most receiving upside at the position since Travis Kelce. And we do know that Travis Kelce is nearing the end, right? They mentioned that in the article from thefalcoholic.com. This might very well be Travis Kelce's last season in the NFL, and you need to prepare for life after him. And you could potentially solve that need before next offseason by acquiring someone like Kyle Pitts, because he clearly has the ability, the talent to do some things that the Chiefs would be looking for, after Travis Kelce is to depart. I don't think Noah Gray is a tight end one. I think he's a great number 2 tight end, a great backup, definitely someone that deserves a role in the offense, but not quite a number 1, right? And that's what the Chiefs are going to be searching for. But I think what Chiefs fans need to understand as of right now is that you're not just finding another Travis Kelce after Travis Kelce leaves. And you're probably not finding a 1-for-1 replacement for him. And it's going to be somewhat of a tight end by committee thing, which is why I think it would be appropriate to bring in Kyle Pitts, because I don't think they're going to bring him in with the expectations that the Atlanta Falcons had when they originally drafted him. I mean, looking at his stats over the last 4 seasons, of course, you see the incredible rookie season, but a very, very down 2022, a bounce back 2023, and then more of the same in 2024. So I think when you look into this and take into account everything, when you trade for Kyle Pitts, if that is what happens, you can't expect the same sort of ceiling as when he was first drafted. I just think, at this point that's probably not happening. But if he can hover right around 600, 700 yards, be a red zone threat, intermediate parts of the field, getting open, that's fine. That's a good player right there, and a player that you would like to have after Travis Kelce's days are over. And so I really like what he provides. Obviously, long, athletic, more of a glorified wide receiver. And that's why I do think there's still some untapped potential here. If the Kansas City Chiefs were to bring in Kyle Pitts, I do think there is something to say about him maybe going up a level if he were to come in, learn under Andy Reid, play with Patrick Mahomes, and also just a change of scenery, because I think that's probably the most important thing for Kyle Pitts right now is to get a change of scenery. It hasn't worked out for Atlanta, but we saw glimpses, right, in that rookie season. And he may not be what he was in his rookie season consistently throughout his career going forward, but a contributing player, I think, and someone that, like I said, can get you 6, 7, maybe 800 yards in a season, maybe 1 year get 1,000 yards again. Playing in a different offense that best utilizes his skill set. And I think the Chiefs would utilize his skill set. Instead of trying to force him to be a tight end, they kind of make him a glorified tight end or wide receiver at tight end. And you can have him learn behind Travis Kelce for a year in his final year, because we know that the Chiefs, they don't really force Travis Kelce to be a tight end at the time. He is more like a big wide receiver, and that's okay. Those are his strengths. That's why you utilize him in that role. Also, Jody Fortson, I think, is a good comparison for how the Chiefs could potentially use Kyle Pitts. Before injuries, Jody Fortson really provided a spark to this offense. And I think if you put Kyle Pitts in that same role, you could have a souped-up Jody Fortson of sorts that is a red zone threat, that can make big plays down the field, a big body, hard for DBs to cover. And with this wide receiver room that I think the Kansas City Chiefs currently have, bringing in Kyle Pitts makes it a low pressure scenario in which, he can just kind of learn and grow before Travis Kelce retires. And then by the time he moves on, you already have someone that's been waiting in the wings that can help contribute. Now, there is one concern I have to the idea of the Kansas City Chiefs trading for Kyle Pitts. And I'm going to talk about what that is in a minute. But first, before I do that, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsors on this channel, Penalty Verdict, a new app that is coming out next football season that you guys are going to want to have as Kansas City Chiefs fans. We're constantly taking flack from other fan bases about how the Chiefs only win because of the refs. We know that's not true, but Penalty Verdict is going to give you the tools to prove that. And it's going to be great for football discourse next season. Let's just check it out real quick.
Whether you're sick of seeing your team constantly get screwed over by the refs, tired of hearing about how your team only wins because of the refs, or simply just desire fair play and accountability, then Penalty Verdict is the perfect app for you. Penalty Verdict is a new app that allows football fans to vote on penalty calls in real time on both NFL and college football games. With Penalty Verdict, you'll be able to engage with a community of football fans who desire accuracy and transparency in officiating. And not only does Penalty Verdict allow you to vote on and discuss penalties in real time, but you'll also have access to data and statistics on specific referees. And you can even see what your favorite team's win-loss record is with that referee heading the crew. You can use this information to make educated guesses on who's going to win each game, and earn even more XP, which can be used to place wagers and climb up leaderboards on Penalty Verdict. Unlock the next dimension of sports by engaging with real-time polling of referees, players, and teams. And lastly, view data-driven insights to have informed discussions about the games. While Penalty Verdict is still in the development phase, we would love to hear your guys' feedback on what features you want to see in the app for next football season. Invite your friends to join and share Penalty Verdict today, and follow Penalty Verdict on social media.
So yeah, guys, that is penalty verdict. The link is going to be down in the description to get on the wait list for that. They also want to hear from you guys, feedback on what features you want to see on the app for next football season, but that's definitely a tool that I'm going to be using. I want to see you guys on there as well, joining that community. But back to the video topic, like I said, there is one concern I do have if the Chiefs are to trade for Kyle Pitts, and that is the logjam that it's going to create in the short term, because Travis Kelce is back this year. You still have Noah Gray. You also have Jared Wiley, who the Chiefs invested a relatively high draft pick in last year, who I think, I want to see him. I definitely want to see him. And I think there's a lot of upside there still. I think people are kind of forgetting about him. And then they also brought in a UDFA tight end out of Clemson that I think has a really good shot to make the roster. And so where does Kyle Pitts fit in and all of that? You don't necessarily want to block your other young guys for someone that may not even work out here in the long term. But that said, I still think I would ultimately do it, because the most important part is, what are you going to do after Travis Kelce? And I think what you're going to do after Travis Kelce is going to dictate a lot about how the second half of the Patrick Mahomes era is going to go. Because Travis Kelce has been such a huge part of what this team has done, and he's a leader, and losing him, it's going to be a big, massive hole to fill. And who are you going to fill that with? I think it's probably going to be a by committee scenario, at least for those first few years, unless the Chiefs stumble into a prospect they can't pass up in the draft. And so Kyle Pitts, I think, is at least a dart throw worth making to try and solve the position for the long-term future after Travis Kelce is gone. And I still think there's some untapped potential there that can be unlocked with Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and company. So those are my thoughts on the Kansas City Chiefs potentially trading for Falcons tight end Kyle Pitts. But I definitely want to hear from you guys in the comments. Do you think the Chiefs should trade for Kyle Pitts, or are you washing your hands of this one? I want to hear from you guys. But with all that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. Make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com for more. And last but not least, follow me on Twitter at ShowMeFB. That's all I got for you guys in this one. I'll see you all in the next one. And as always, go Chiefs.